Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be doing a guide for Goslar for EU4 1.31 Leviathan. And before we begin, if you enjoy this video and want to see more, you should of course consider subscribing. Let's get to 40k subs, and if you really like the video, don't hesitate to leave a like, it really helps out a lot. So, let's take a look at what we need to do as Goslar. Goslar is a small and unassuming nation inside the HRE, and you would probably glance over them many times and pick many nations around them, but I think that Goslar are one of the most powerful and most underrated nations in the HRE, and by playing as them, you will create a super tall, super powerful, and super rich Germany while forming 3 or 4 nations along the way. Now, we do start off as a free city, which is pretty powerful, and we will be trying to stay a free city at least for the first couple of decades. We get minus 10% dev cost and plus 10% trade efficiency, which is excellent. We have a very powerful national idea set that focuses on wealth and army. 10% dev cost is crazy. Plus 1 diplo rep for the HRE is awesome. Goods produced plus 10 as our first idea group. We're gonna be swimming in money in no time. Construction cost and imperial authority. We could even try and become emperor. Reform progress growth is excellent. Land force limit plus 20%. Morale and relations. Awesome. And we can even form Saxony, form Prussia, and form Germany. And we will be doing all 3 of those. So first, of course, we're gonna select some rivals. Try to rival the nations around you, particularly the smaller ones, such as Magdeburg, for example, Lüneburg, and Saxony. Why not? Then we're gonna go into our states and summon the Diet. You can pick whichever agenda is best for you. Then we're gonna give the clergy religious state and clerical advisory council. We're gonna be giving the nobility primacy of the nobility, increased levies, and aristocratic councillors. Then we're gonna activate the Encourage Development State Edict in our, well, only province, and we already have minus 30% dev discount, which is awesome. And we're gonna dev once with Diplo. Then we're gonna give the burghers Land of Commerce, Patronage of the Arts, Commercial Advisory Board, and indebted to the burghers. After that, of course, we're gonna sell titles and seize land. Now, like I said, in this early stage of the game, we are gonna wanna stay a free city for a while, so we're mainly gonna focus on vassalizing nations around us and growing them a little bit, and after that annexing them and starting the expansion ourselves. We also have a free merchant, which we can put to collect from Lübeck at this point, but later we are gonna move him around. We will also want to build up the force limit, so let's take this cavalry unit and destroy it and build up 3 more infantry regiments, and when we have enough mill points, we can recruit a general. We are also gonna start focusing on mill immediately. Now it's time for some alliances. Let's take a look at which nations are available, and I have Brunswick and Brandenburg available. Try and ally whoever you can. I'm gonna ally Brandenburg. I'm gonna start improving relations with Austria immediately, and I'm also gonna ally another nation once this diplomat comes back. Now that this diplomat is back, I'm also gonna ally Brunswick, and I'm gonna start spying on Magdeburg. They will most likely be our first target. At this point, if you lower army maintenance, you will also have enough ducats to hire an advisor. I recommend hiring an improved relations or diplo rep guy. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those guys, so I'm just gonna take the spy network guy. Once our spy network on Magdeburg is complete, it is time to declare our first war. Obviously, it's gonna be versus them. By this point, they should have 1 or 2 weakish allies. In my case, they've allied Regensburg down here, but if they've allied someone stronger, like Saxony or Bohemia or someone like that, for example, or even Poland, you're better off restarting since it's only been 1 year. And because they do have a level 3 fort, we are going to be hiring the Free Company as well. We will be going over our force limit, but that's not a problem at all. And we will be declaring on them with the Conquest CB, of course, even though we won't be taking provinces from them. In the meantime, because we won't be getting a lot of claims ourselves, you will want to set these provinces around you as provinces of interest, so your subject, basically Magdeburg, can start building spy networks. Of course, the main thing we're going to be waiting on is the transfer subject age ability, where we can chain claim around us and vassalize nations that are further away from us. Of course, if you don't care about being a free city that much, sure, you could take provinces yourselves to try and border more nations, but the choice is totally up to you. And once we've defeated the nation of Magdeburg, we will be vassalizing them and taking all their money. And that's our first war done. Now, I seem to be in a war with Anhalt as well, because they apparently declared on Magdeburg too, And of course I got dragged in as the Overlord, which isn't a problem at all because Anhalt is actually the next nation we need to fight because Magdeburg, they do have a claim on Anhalt. And even if they don't in your case, they will be building one because they're interested in it as well, and because we made it a province of interest too. So I guess it's time to fight Anhalt now. Of course, in your case, you will be chilling for a couple of months before declaring on them. I just happen to be in it immediately. Of course, if you get a good ruler at the start, mine is a 250, and he has monthly war exhaustion minus 0.05, you can keep him, but if you don't like them, you can just swap him out. You already know how republics work. I'm gonna keep mine. Once we defeat Anhalt as well, we will not be taking that province for ourselves, and we will not be vassalizing them, but instead we will be giving that province to Magdeburg and taking all their money. Now after you fought those first two wars where you vassalized Magdeburg and gave Anhalt to them as well, it's time to chill for a little bit because aggressive expansion is slightly high. Of course we could fight another nation and not get a coalition, but we're still gonna chill for a few years since it is pretty early. During this point you should improve with your subject to get them loyal and build spy networks on these two provinces right here. During this point in the game, pretender rebels will spawn in Thuringia, and that is usually the way that almost every game Thuringia breaks free from being Saxony's junior partner. Keep an eye out for this because that is the exact moment where you need to strike. And as we can see right now, I can make a claim on them, which is perfect. And as soon as these pretender rebels win, we're going to be declaring on Thuringia. If this doesn't happen, don't worry, you're just going to be declaring on Saxony directly. But these pretender rebels do pop out 99% of the time, and around this time too, from the start of the game until around 1455. And there we go, the pretender rebels just won in my case. Thuringia is free from Saxony, and by the way, I was holding open the Thuringia window the entire time that the pretenders were sieging them down, so I could not miss this. And simply once that happens, we are immediately gonna be declaring on Thuringia because they won't have any allies whatsoever. No need to call in any allies for this, they're gonna be very weak. They do have 2 forts to siege down, but by this point Magdeburg should be loyal and they should be able to help you out. As we can see, we're fighting just Thuringia, no allies, no nothing like that. Once the Renaissance has spawned after 1450, and because it's so cheap for us to dev, we are gonna help speed it up a little bit in our capital, and of course we're gonna be benefiting from the dev as well. Try to focus on deving mainly Diplo and Mill, but if you have some spare admin points, sure, you can go for it. At this point, you can also set your merchant in Saxony to establish communities. And we're gonna tell this guy from Lubeck to go to Rhineland, make him collect, and once he's there, we're also gonna tell him to establish communities as well. And make sure to improve relations with outraged countries. We should be able to vassalize Thuringia at this point without getting a coalition. For your tier 2 government reform, you should select either political dynasties or republicanism. They're both pretty good. I do think political dynasties is a little better, so that's what I recommend. Don't take authoritarianism. By the way, right now I'm just sitting in this war a little bit, waiting for aggressive expansion to die down, and even if you declared earlier than me, or a bit later, it doesn't matter, you should chill till around 1455 to 1457 and wait for aggressive expansion to die down. Now when we're ready to peace out Thuringia, we can see that even if we chose not to vassalize these nations and you don't like playing a free city for some reason, even if we full annex them, that's 62 aggressive expansion. Quite a lot. If we take 3 provinces, it's 55, and if we take 2, it's 41. Only 1 is 26. And if we go to vassalize them, we can see that it's 44, so around 20 less than taking the provinces ourselves. Now, even if I vassalize them, I'll still get a pretty big coalition. So, I do recommend vassalizing them, but first, we're gonna make them release the nation of Coburg down here. Then when we go to vassalize them, we can see that it's only 36 aggressive expansion, and only Thuringia and Saxony would join a coalition with me, which is not possible because you need 4 nations for a coalition, and how can Thuringia join if they're my subject, and Saxony can't form it alone. So we're gonna make them release Coburg down here, vassalize them, and take all their money. Don't make them give up claims in Saxony, we need those claims. And after 10 to 15 years, you should have Magdeburg and Thuringia as subjects, and have Anhalt owned by Magdeburg as well. Now we're gonna improve with Thuringia as well, and let aggressive expansion die down. It's still not that bad, and we could honestly take 1 or 2 more provinces for ourselves. At this point you will have eclipsed some of your rivals, which means you'll have free rival slots available. Don't rival anyone, because at this point you're going to be able to rival stronger nations. Don't do it yet, because they might support our subjects' independence, and we want to not rival anyone, at least until we can get one of these guys loyal. Because we have 2 subjects, we can also give the nobility strong duchies. At this point we're chilling, improving relations with our subjects and outraged countries, and we're trying to get Goslar, our capital, up to 30 dev. Make sure to build up the force limit as well. You can also try and get some more allies, particularly someone who's close to you but you don't border, like in my case Hesse or Munster. I'm gonna ally Munster. Once you hit 30 dev in Goslar by deving up mainly Diplo and Mill, like I said, I did dev up once with admin, feel free to swap out to the institution spread edict, the advancement effort, instead of encourage development. Once your subjects are loyal enough, in my case I did get them loyal enough, feel free to add other rivals. I'll rival Berg and Würzburg in my case, and I'll also ally Trier as well. We do want to start allying some electors at this point, because we'll stop being a free city pretty soon. Once you embrace the Renaissance, and it should happen around this time, feel free to sell it to some of your allies. They're gonna get it anyway, so why not make a few ducats out of it? Of course you should find whichever nation will pay you the most. In my case it seems to be Brandenburg. Don't forget to turn off any edicts once you've embraced it. And now we can take some ideas that we're behind on, and for our first idea group as Goslar, we are going to be taking quantity ideas. This isn't so much to help us out with our military size, but it has more to do with the policies that we're going to take with other idea groups that will mesh very well with our national ideas. For example, the dev cost policy with economic and the goods produced policy with trade. Imagine 30% goods produced before you even get furnaces. That's pretty powerful. So quantity ideas for our first idea group. Of course, we're already focusing on mill. At this point we're still chilling and lowering aggressive expansion while improving with our subjects, because pretty soon we will be able to start annexing Magdeburg. After we've devved up Goslar to 30 and embraced the Renaissance, we don't need to be a free city that much anymore. Of course, if you want to continue along the free city roleplay route, you could stay as a free city. And I can take this mission apparently. While we're still chilling and waiting for aggressive expansion to die down, we can fire off a few humiliation wars versus our weaker rivals that aren't Saxony. In my case, I'm gonna be declaring a humiliation war on Berg right here. They seem pretty weak. I'm gonna call in these guys, why not? And we're either gonna humiliate them and take money, or we could either show strength to get 100 monarch points in each category. You can let your subjects and allies do the work if you don't want to get involved too much. It's up to you. Of course, if you don't have anyone to humiliate, you should just chill and wait and build some buildings. When piecing out smaller guys like this, basically their allies, make sure to take war reps, transfer trade power, all their money, and annul a few rivalries to get some sweet prestige. I'll be doing the same to Dortmund as well, as we can see right here. And when piecing out the main belligerent, Berg right here, I will in fact be humiliating them and not showing strength, because I do want to humiliate them for the age objective, taking war reps, all their money, and I'm gonna make them end some alliances. And that's what you should be doing in your free time. Of course, we're not gonna try and do that to Bohemia, even though we can actually win, because they're only allied to Silly, so I might do that to them as well. Declare on whoever you feel you're powerful enough to defeat, while we're still waiting for aggressive expansion to come down. Of course, once you have above 190 relations with your first vassal, Magdeburg, you should start annexing them. Like I said, at this point, we don't need to be a free city anymore. And there we go, I've just annexed the nation of Magdeburg. Of course, we won't need to be doing any stating, since it is in our capital province. But we will need to be doing some decreasing of autonomy. Just make sure to let a month tick by first. And of course, once we do integrate them, we will no longer be a free city. But that's fine, that's what we want. And it seems that I've been giving the oligarchy tier 1 reform, which gives us tax. But of course you could flip to a noble elite or some yearly army tradition. It's your choice. If you want, you can destroy the level 2 fort that you inherited from Magdeburg to save some ducats. It's totally up to you. During this time, make sure to build buildings as well. Magdeburg is a center of trade, so let's build a marketplace here. Now once the 1460s roll around and you have less than 25 aggressive expansion with most HRE nations, it is time to pop off our first war versus Saxony. Of course, in your case they may not look like this, and they may have been gobbled up by someone like Bohemia or even Brandenburg, but we are going to be fighting any nation that holds some of these provinces right here, basically the ones we border. In my case it's still Saxony, so I am going to be declaring on them using my own claim or my subject's claim, and I am going to call in Brandenburg. They do have quite a lot of allies, but it's not a problem at all. Now it's time to beat up Saxony. During this point you can activate the defensive edict, in your capital state. If you still want to stay a free city for some reason for your first age ability, you should take the transfer subject age ability so you can get claims bordering claims. But if you're following along with this guide and you're no longer a free city, you should take the justified wars. And once we've defeated Saxony, here's what we're going to be taking from them. So the most important thing is to take the province of Wittenberg right here. So this is something we have to take in a war when we're fighting someone over here. And then we're going to be taking either Leipzig or Dresden. Dresden is their capital. It will be more aggressive expansion and more expensive. As we can see, if I do that, I will get a coalition. But if I take Leipzig, I won't get a coalition. And let's see, these three provinces right here are 44 AE, whereas these three are 62. And let's see how much aggressive expansion is vassalizing them. 49. So it's still quite a lot in my case. Even if I let it tick over to next year, I'll still have a coalition going. So I recommend taking these two provinces from Saxony, along with all their money, and maybe even humiliating them, but that will just lengthen our truce, so maybe just these two provinces and all their money. Maybe someone will gobble them up over here, which will be great for us, or maybe we'll wait and fight them later. So this is what you're gonna take from Saxony. Aggressive expansion at this point has risen up quite a bit still with some nations, so we are gonna chill a little bit again. Our next target is most likely going to be Saxony again, or whoever owns provinces in this region, but until then we're going to be focusing on annexing our second subject, Thuringia. It is a little tricky getting them up to 190, I'm not gonna lie. For your tier 3 government reform, I recommend selecting frequent elections, or consolidation of power. I do think this one is a little bit better, since it reduces the time for elections, and we get better rulers faster. Don't take Sortition. In my case, Brandenburg just rivaled me, which means we're no longer allied, so I will be allying the Pope. Why not? They're always a good choice. Since we are playing a republic in the HRE, we will have an abundance of monarch points. As we can see, I'm ahead in tech, in admin and diplo, and I'm almost reaching my cap. So of course we are gonna wanna do some deving. You can dev cloth and salt with production, for example, and you can dev wool with, well, mill specifically, but in this case, I'm gonna dev it with some admin. There we go. For your second age ability, it's not a bad idea to take adaptive combat terrain for +1 combat terrain in our capital terrain, which means we're gonna get +1 in all of the woods provinces, and there's a lot of them, so I do recommend this one. For your second idea group as Goslar, I recommend taking economic ideas. Yes, meta, I know, but it really does help out really with Goslar, especially because we took quality earlier, we're building a ton of buildings, we need the inflation reduction as well, we're going to be getting some gold mines, and it's all around one of the best idea sets. After you finish up quantity, you can swap focus to admin. During this time, you should be getting above 190 relations with Thuringia, and of course, you should start annexing them. And once your truce with Saxony is up, of course as long as they exist, and as long as aggressive expansion is pretty low, and it should be by this point, it is time to declare our final war against them, where we're gonna be full annexing them. In your case, if Saxony doesn't exist, it may be time to form Saxony. But let's just declare for their capital of Dresden right here. In my case, I've just annexed Thuringia, and when you do that, you should state it, of course. And there we go, I full siege Saxony, and when we do this, we will be full annexing them. And taking all their money. There we go. Even though a coalition says that it'll form, it won't really form. Nice. Once Saxony doesn't exist and we have fulfilled all the requirements to actually form Saxony, this is something that I recommend you do. One of the reasons we want to form Saxony is specifically their mission tree. They also have pretty good national ideas too. Like I said, they're pretty similar to Goslar ideas in that they both have goods produced, both have dev cost, and both have a little bit of diplo stuff. But I feel like Goslars are slightly better due to the army stuff we get, like land force limit and morale, whereas in Saxony's we gain discipline and some more diplo stuff as well. I do recommend sticking with Goslar ideas, but forming Saxony just for the mission tree. So, when you form Saxony, like this, don't take new traditions and ambitions. Of course you can if you want to, if you value the diplo stuff and advisor costs that Saxony has more than Goslar's ideas, but I'm gonna be sticking with Goslar's ideas because I like the construction cost and the army stuff too. So no, we cannot abandon our roots. By the way, that automatically cores the last provinces that you've gotten, because we are Saxony, right? And here's Saxony's mission tree. As we can see, apparently I've already fulfilled a mission where we gain some claims on some provinces right here and right here. Then we have Saxon manufacturing, where we need to have manufactories, Wittenberg University, where we need to dev up that province, build a church or a courthouse, and we spawn a university in the 1400s. Now, if that's not powerful, I don't know what is. This branch over here focuses on us expanding in Bohemia and in Brandenburg. We can even gain a restoration of Union CB on Poland later, depending of course on what's happening. And it's overall a great mission tree. We still get Goslar ideas, but with an added mission tree. Of course, Goslar doesn't have any unique national ideas. Now that we've formed Saxony, our aggressive expansion is a little bit high, so it's time to chill a bit before advancing with our conquests and our mission tree as the Saxon Oligarchic Republic. Have you guys ever seen something as cursed as this? We can rival ourselves. I wonder what happens if I pick that. So I'm Saxony, but I've rivaled myself. I gotta take a screenshot of this. Let's see what happens when a month ticks over. Apparently I'm still rivaled to myself. And by around the 1480s, your game should look a little something like this. Basically, we started off as Goslar, a free city. Vassalized Magdeburg, waited for Thuringia to get free, vassalized them, gave Anhalt to Magdeburg and fought Saxony, and we have become Saxony ourselves. The excellent Goslar national ideas that are kind of similar to Saxony's, but in my opinion a little bit better due to the army stuff, and the awesome Saxon mission tree that's very fun, combined together, give us some very fun goals to strive for to achieve in this campaign. But Saxony, it isn't the only nation we can form when starting off as Goslar. Of course, as you all know, we can also form Prussia. This is something I recommend doing. Of course, as you know, we need to be Protestant, Reformed, Hussite, or Anglican. I do recommend going Protestant, and later we will be forming Prussia once we finish up the Saxon mission tree and take all the required provinces. I do recommend forming Prussia. If you want to focus strictly on the mill stuff, of course you should take Prussia's excellent militarily focused national ideas. But if you want to play tall and strive for an economy, while also getting the Prussian mission tree or something like that, I know it could be a little weird, but you could actually stick with Goslar ideas if goods produced and dev cost are your things. But I do recommend taking Prussian ideas later, once you've dev'd up, built buildings, taken a big portion of this area right here. Who knows where your expansion paths are going to take you? Well, I know, because, well, you're going to be following along your mission tree, and it's going to take you pretty far and wide. And after that, in the mid to late game, when you reach Admin Tech 20, you will of course also be forming the nation of Germany. By starting off as Goslar, forming Saxony, then forming Prussia, then forming Germany, you will create one of the most powerful, richest, and most highly developed Germanys that can be formed in EU4. This is an excellent way to take, starting off as one nation, forming another, and then forming another one. Or if you don't want to form Germany, maybe you're going to want to go for the HRE emperorship, try and become emperor, form the HRE. That would also be very awesome. And honestly, this small underrated nation that we started off right here is one of the most fun nations you can play as in the HRE. By this point, we have total control of the Saxony-Anhalt, Saxony, and Thuringia areas. Autonomy is down, we're building buildings in all of them. I have some marketplaces right here in the important provinces, a bunch of production buildings, a bunch of churches, some barracks as well, and we will be building a ton of buildings with that 10% construction cost from our national ideas, another 10% from economic, and we'll be deving a lot with the dev cost from our ideas, dev cost from economic, and more dev cost for quantity and economic. And speaking of idea groups, for your next idea group, after you've taken quantity and economic, I recommend taking quality ideas, once again for the awesome policies that it will bring to us, but also we want to get those Prussian Space Marines going before we're even Prussia, and quality will help out massively with that. So quantity, economic, quality. After that, you're going to want to take trade for the excellent policies that it brings with quantity, like goods produced plus 20%, trade efficiency and production efficiency with economic, and plus 20% trade efficiency with quality. So those four idea groups are gonna make you one of the richest nations in the game in no time once you take all of those. Of course, now we're a republic. In the age of absolutism, you will want to swap to a monarchy because of the absolutism, but for your republican reforms for tier 4, I recommend taking administrative divisions. For tier 5, I recommend taking presidential system. It is the only one you can take. For tier 6, it's pretty much your choice. Devolution of powers gives you a diplomat. Broaden executive powers gives you stab cost. They're both pretty helpful. I do recommend devolution of powers slightly more. For tier 7, once again, it's up to you depending on which policy you need based on the idea groups you pick. So this one gives you an admin policy, this one gives you a diplo policy. Take whichever one you need. For tier 8, I of course recommend citizenry. For tier 9, you can take appointment by committee or extended suffrage. And for tier 10, you could of course seize executive power and swap to a monarchy, or you can do that by lowering republican tradition, becoming a dictatorship and then a monarchy. But if you sort of want to stay a republic, do a republican Germany or a republican Prussia, you should take strengthen executive powers. After this point, you're going to continue to expand in all the directions we've been expanding, albeit slowly because we are in the HRE, like I said. Ooh, Livy Church tax. And you will be following along the Saxon mission tree. It does give us some claims. It focuses on deving, conquering loads of provinces. We gain some nice modifiers for them. Like I said, I do recommend going Protestant once the Protestant Reformation rolls around. You can't become emperor right now because you're a republic, but if you do want to do that, make sure to lower army tradition and become a monarchy by force before you unlock the final reform. And of course later you will be striving towards conquering these provinces up here to form Prussia, and after that you'll be striving to form the nation of Germany and playing super tall and super wide at the same time while being extremely wealthy and having an extremely powerful army. And like I said, by around the 1480s, your game should look a little something like this. Let me know in the comments below what's the next nation that I should do a guide on in 1.32. Origins is dropping soon. And if you want to watch me do stuff like this live, you can follow me on twitch.tv/TheRedHawkLive. And if you want to catch up on stuff over there, you can subscribe to the second channel. Link is in the description. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like. It really helps out the channel a lot. And if you really liked it, you can always subscribe. Let's try and hit 40k subs. And you can become a member today and join the Discord. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.